Now put the dogs and kids away for this one, because, it doesn't get really raw, but some of the images evoked in it can be seen as to be raw. Hello, YouTubers, on late Thursday afternoon now, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time, April 18th, 2016. Now, by popular demand, I'm going to tell you a story, but first I'm going to talk. About some stuff. It turns out that a lot of all the stuff I showed you in the earlier video was in aid of the Portland cement process, about which I know essentially zippo, except what these guys down at the end of the driveway told me. And it involves mixing a hardening agent in with the dirt, in a certain way, and then rolling on it and grading it. And I'll show you a little bit here. Well, it's getting late in the afternoon on Monday, April 16th, 2016. Going these road grader things. This is the first time I've seen one of these out here. These things always used to just fascinate the heck out of me when I was a kid. And if you look carefully, the guy's really not steering, and it's all done by GPS auto steer. And you see the little GPS thing on the pole there on his machine, and you've got a guy over here shooting measurements. Well, that's just neat as anything, I think. I don't know if y'all remember these square tanks with fluid in them in like 3-wire cages that were sitting down on the edge of the driveway or down on the mound that they built. They hauled these things in here sometime last week, I think, and then they kind of disappeared. And now the one fellow I was talking to, who was telling me about this process, he says, "Well, now I've got to go paint this stuff, white." He says, "You walk down here tomorrow, you won't be able to drive a nail into this ground." And he says, that's what he called it. They called it, it's like some sort of conditioner or something. He says, "I don't think it does a damn bit of good, but the state of Ohio wants it, so we have to put it on." Build the design, policies and procedures. I can tell you, driving around the roads here in central Ohio, or pretty much any Ohio concrete type highway, if they've put something on there to make it hard and not flake and crack, somebody was being told a gigantic lie. I don't know why, basically they ought to take all the guys that build roads in England, the UK, and bring them over here to build our roads, because, you don't see any of that crap over there. Now, really, I don't think they get quite the freeze-thaw stuff we get over here, but all of this is a prelude to a story that was requested by one of my subscribers in the deep southwest of England. This story is, for all intents and purposes, called the Mark of Peterborough story. When my son and I went over there, over to England, and yeah, it was we just confined ourselves to England, at his request, because he was bound and determined he was going to spend time in London, which I'm glad he did. We got to see some stuff I hadn't seen. So. Uh, we went to Peterborough to see the cathedral, and we ended up, of course, my technique was to try to arrive relatively early. Uh, my early wasn't really probably as early as it ought to be a lot of times, and find a bed and breakfast to stay in, or maybe what looked like a relatively down market hotel. So, uh, we checked in, and we turns out there was a pub right across the road. Of course, that's always one of the criteria when I go looking for a place to stay. Is that you've got to have a pub, ideally a couple of three maybe, within walking distance of where you're staying, because you can't drive once you drink. You just no, you cannot. So I think this place, as I recall, when I checked my notes, it was called the Pelican. Now I can't recall whether it was spelled with a C or a K. It was called probably the C, because they don't like to see ill-spelled words up in public over there, and I don't blame them. I don't like to see them either. So it's called the Pelican. So we walked over there as we sort of got straightened around from the rigors of driving. You know, when it was about 6:30 when the drugs took hold, i.e., my blood pressure medicines took hold. To go over to the Pelican, and as you do, you never try to be obtrusive. You you get your pints. You sit, maybe not like in a corner and isolate yourself, but and if somebody says something to you, you speak back, and I mean you don't really go out of your way to initiate conversation. I mean it's Americans are notorious for that, and that's just not the way to act when you're in a strange, when you're a guest in a foreign country. Well, over time, I think probably 3 or 4 pints into the evening, this one guy seemed to take take an interest in us anyway. I mean, take an interest in me anyway. And he came over and started to talk and with me. And meanwhile, Thomas had wandered off and he was playing pool with a bunch of guys. You put your money on the table and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of a universe. That's the way we do it over here too, apparently. And I don't know. He may have actually played darts. They have the thing on the board, and so it was a very we're getting on toward 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening now, and we got talking, and it became clear to me this guy was probably around 20, 21. This is 95, so I was 45 then. So that's not a huge age difference, is there? And actually, when the place closed after last call, Thomas and I were invited to stay for the little after hours thing in the back. Now I've been honored enough to be asked to do that on 3 occasions when I've traveled over there, and I've just because I've got to get up and be functional and drive in the morning, I've always had to turn them down. When that was the case this time, but this guy's name was Mark, and he says, "Where are you staying?" And I said, "Well, we're just right across the street." He says, "Oh, I know that place." He says, "My grandmother's house. I live in my grandmother's house. It's just right around the corner." I said, he says, "I'm here. Here, I'll go across with you." And so, of course, inevitably you go across with, then we end up standing out in the street and talking for about another hour and a half. And as time went on and the beer, got worked through the renal system, you have to go take a leak. So I got to take a leak really badly. And Thomas says, I'm going to go in. So he went into the bed and breakfast where we were staying, which actually had probably about 7 or 8 rooms. I mean, it was essentially a hotel by any other name, and these were big, high-ceilinged rooms too. Anyway, it actually had 3 beds in it. Interestingly, what was going through Joe's mind? So Mark, or as I had taken to calling him in my mind, Mark of Peterborough, and I retired around this hedge in this individual's front garden. Now, I felt like an asshole doing this, but right now, about now it's getting on toward 1:30 in the morning. And I don't think they're up, watching 2 guys taking a leak in their front garden against their hedge. So, Mark of Peterborough whips down his sort of jogger sports attire pants, pulls his T-shirt up under, does one of these numbers and takes a leak. And of course, I'm getting this gigantic eyeful. And he wasn't trying to disguise it or hide it. It wasn't like he turned his back to me to the side or anything. And so I took a leak too. And I wasn't maybe quite as blatant about flashing my goods around as he was. But to this day, I remember what this guy looked like, and how sort of just sounded like he'd be a really good time. I don't think the landlady had a bit of trouble with me sneaking this guy up the stairs and hustling him out the door in the morning. I don't think, but I thought, well, no, I don't want to do that with Thomas in the room. And, talk about being cock-blocked. So the next morning, later that same morning, actually, more accurately, Thomas and I go down for breakfast, and it was a wonderful breakfast. I mean, all these breakfast, the sausage and the bacon and the eggs and the this and the that, the toast and the butter and the tea, and you're set for the day. Well, meanwhile, this landlady, and I'd say she's probably late 40s, early 50s. She's got this daughter home from, well, I don't know. I don't think she was home from university. I think she was in one of these A-level colleges, and they came over to our table and they said, "Do you mind if we sit with you while she goes?" She says, "That way I have to tend the dining room. I can do it from here." I just, yeah, it's fine. Hell, it's her place. And it was very clear that the older woman was hitting on me. Even I could tell that, and I'm oblivious to this kind of stuff. And it was very obvious to me, that the girl was hitting on Thomas. Well, I mean, we had to be on the road, didn't we? I mean, we had places to go, things to see. We had an agenda. And so, finish our breakfast. It's all very pleasant. Settle the bill. Very nice. And it was nice. It was a nice place. I can't remember the name of the place, but it's a nice place. And the Pelican, as near as I can figure out from the internet, is no longer there, which is unfortunate because that was a nice tour. It was like on a trifurcation. You know, three roads came together, and it was on one of the little triangular apices. You know, excuse me. And so we get in the car, and you know, and this it actually had a parking lot in back, a car park. I'm sorry, parking lot to Americans, car park to British folks, and back. And came out, and I got on the road. You know, let's see. Well, this doesn't make sense because I somehow remember being close to the curb. And that would be, I was driving on the right. So no, I had to have gone and made the right turn out of the drive to go down toward the cathedral. And as I pull up to, and it was actually a traffic lighted intersection. When you know, in the roundabout-y thing, it was a traffic. Well, I'm making my hand in the wrong way. This guy shows up outside this bed and breakfast place. Now he had a couple of friends with him because he had talked about you want to stick around and go to the soccer game with it, well, football game with it or something. And I said, guys, I'd really love to do that, but I really need to get. We have some things we want to do, and he showed up just like he said. Now I don't know, I mean, some people would say, "Oh, you were getting set up," and yes, I was well aware I might be getting set up, but anyway. That's the Mark of Peterborough story for those of you who've been asking for it. And it's provided great memories for me many a night, I'll tell you. So on that, bye-bye, YouTubers.